Hi, Eric Gibaud, ericgibaud.com, and today I'm going to tell you my 5 tips, photography tips for November 2020. Let's start. First tip. Many people contact me telling their picture is blurred, and very often they think it's blurred because of the subject that is moving or whatever. But really it's blurred because of themselves, because they've forgotten the first basic rule in photography, which is the speed. If the speed of your picture, the time the picture is being captured is too long, then even if the subject is completely static, you will move even slightly, so it will be not that sharp and maybe often blurred, moved, okay? So there is a basic rule that is, you should not use a speed that is lower than your focal length. So let's explain. Let's say you're using a 50mm lens. Well, you should not use a speed lower than 1/50th of a second. If you're using a 200mm lens, not lower than 1/200th of a second. This is a basic rule, but this rule is for full frame camera. If you are using an APS-C camera or micro four thirds, then you should calculate the multiplication factor, which is, if I'm using a Nikon, for example, which is 1.5 Nikon APS-C camera, it's 1.5. So if I use a 50mm, if I put it on my APS-C Nikon APS-C camera, it will be like a 75mm. It means I should not shoot at a lower speed than 1/75th of a second. If I use a 100mm on a micro four thirds, which is time 2, I should not shoot lower than 1/200th of a second. But there is also something else. If your camera body or your lens has stabilization, then you can lower the speed a lot more. So for that, you should check your camera instruction specification, see how many stops you can actually lower. But it will be also a matter of experience. Some people with a great IBIS still have some pictures that are moved because they're really shaky, and other people, they can go really low. At least if you use this basic rule, you'll have a starting point, and then your experience will tell you, in your case, how low you can go. But tip number 2, I see many people, they actually set their color profile in their camera, and then they work in RAW files, not JPEG. So when you make set some color profile in your camera, you will see them on the preview in your screen, but then when you open the RAW file in your computer, you will lose all that. So why? Because the RAW file is the maximum information with no any profile, anything, really flat as possible, and then it will give you that. And then after, then you will better the contrast or whatever, okay? So it's important that you don't use any color profile in RAW file. Why? Because first, they're useless. Second, it will give you a fake ID when you look at the screen, okay? So use flat and neutral, not flat, I should say neutral, okay? If you're using JPEG, yes, of course, you can use the color profile because they will be applied in your JPEG file, and this is what your camera will give you. Tip number 3, it has maybe a bit to do with the tip number 2. Do not trust your screen, your LCD screen, your camera screen. I don't speak about your computer, but about your camera. Don't trust it, especially if you work in RAW files. Why? Because when you have a RAW file, you cannot actually look at it. On your screen, you're not seeing a RAW file. You are seeing a JPEG header that is stuck on top of your RAW file. So this way you can actually see something. But this JPEG is not especially well processed. Your RAW file is just below this JPEG picture with the maximum possible information. So really, what you see is not reality. So if you trust your screen, you probably think this is highlights or shadows or whatever are okay or are not okay, and maybe the raw file is different. You should check your histogram, where you have a normal histogram and also the RGB histogram, And also if you have a highlight or a shadow warning, activate them to have a bit of an idea. But the ideal thing is experience and know how to expose properly. So this JPEG header has for exposure, it's not really trustable, but it will be okay for a composition and framing, obviously, yes. Tip advice number 4. Very often photographers are making pictures of people, and you see they're stuck behind their screen, their viewfinder, and they don't the person being photographed doesn't even see your face, and you're there and click and you speak a bit, not too much, and they never see your face. And this eye contact is important. You need to know the person, you need to that person to feel your person, not just a camera, because unless you work with professional models, which is probably not the case, most of our clients or friends are not professional models, and you still have to make them picture, whether it's for fun or whether it's for money, but they are not professional. So it's very important that you take the camera out of your face, speak to that person, see this person, that person can see your eyes, see your mouth, hear you speak, see you speak, all this. This communication is really important, because otherwise they will not understand exactly what you want, or they will get really nervous. So I recommend you put this camera down, you speak, and then you, when you're ready, you frame again and you do it. Many photographers actually use a tripod, they frame and tell the person not to move sideways, but they frame it, and then they don't look through the viewfinder anymore. They just trigger while they're speaking to the person. Tip number 5, put interest in what you're photographing, or who you're photographing, or what they're doing. I see many people, they go down the street and they see like a statue, a monument, they make a picture, they don't even know what it is, they just, oh, that's funny, make a picture, don't even ask. Or they make picture of someone who's doing crafts on the street or in a small place, or when they visit somewhere, and they don't even ask what is it, how you do that, how long you've been doing that, what kind of material you're using, all this. And I think this is an error, because photography is not just capturing pictures. It's also learning. It's also culture. It's also bettering your knowledge. So if you make a picture of someone who is doing like a handmade craft, and you don't even know what it is, and you make a picture and you just go, what does it bring to you? Nothing. You're just collecting picture. You're not learning anything. And I think if you have this attitude of asking or getting the information, first, your picture will be more valuable, because as a souvenir, you will know what's on the picture. Second, when you ask people what they're doing, when they're doing, how they do it, all this, well, they feel like you're not just a collector, a picture collector. You're really a person that is interested in what he is doing. This is why you make the picture, and it will give you new ideas of, let's say I speak to a craftsman and I ask, and what is that material you're using? Oh, they say, and you see some texture, and you will say, oh, I make a macro picture of this. So you get more information, more interesting pictures related to this situation. If you're on the street and you see a statue, you make a picture, you don't even know what it is. If you ask someone walking by, you say, oh, do you know what this is? Oh, yeah, this is our famous artist that exposed in Paris and also in New York City, all this. And he will be proud to tell you, and will not see you as just one more photograph or crazy person with a camera. He will say, oh, this guy was really interested in my town or city and what he can find here. And I think this attitude is good for you, because you get more knowledge, and also it's interesting for people being photographed, because they see, or things being photographed, because people around see that you're interested in not just taking the picture, but in what is on your picture. And I think this attitude will also help you in the future. Next time you will make a picture of a place or person, maybe you will think a different way of making the picture to reflect better all this information you can gather while asking the person, so or someone about the place. Okay, so it's important that you put more interest in the pictures of the subject of your picture.
Well,
these were my 5 tips for November 2020. I hope you like them. If you feel it may interest other people, please share it on social networks. If I have not done yet, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. There's a small button down here and also a small bell. If you click on the bell, you get notified when I upload a new video. My website, ericgibaud.com. If you have any question, you can leave a comment below. And also in the description, I put links of my gear on Amazon and also links to other parts of my YouTube channel. Thank you very much. Please take care of yourself and see you soon. Bye.